Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. Sorry, I mean Confessions of a Domestic Engineer, or as I like to call it, Code. Alright, everyone, here's the deal. This is an entire Patreon pitch episode of sorts. And the reason why I say that is in this episode, I am going to be reviewing all the poetry that I am starting with posting on Patreon. So you can hear it all here. If you like it here, you can go to Patreon and actually download it. That's right. You can grab it, capture it, listen to it. None of my audio commentary or anything like that, but we're going to explore. And I'm going to treat this like I do one of my album reviews, more or less. But I'll put some of my own personal stuff in there. This is the third run through on this because I didn't like the introduction on any of the others, but I really like some of the things I say, and I love my reactions while I'm actually watching or listening to the audio because there's only audio to listen to, except for one. There's one where there's something to watch for you, but not for me. I'm not watching it. Well, at least in the first two run throughs, I didn't watch it. I might watch it in the next run through, this run through. So, anyways, yeah, here we go, folks. This is me doing my poetry thing. If you need a little backstory here, I should give you a little bit. I used to run an open mic night called Juice. I was the third, maybe the fourth person to run it. I was the last person to run it. I ran it into the ground. Actually, that's not true. I expanded on it. The problem was um, the venue that we were hosting at, Fog, they really wanted us to cater more towards the university. And a lot of us didn't go to the university, and we only had one or two people that were going to the university. And when the university kids did come out, they were pulling this whole pretentious, well, I learned this in class, blah, blah, blah. Because the only way they would come out is if it was a school sanctioned function, which means one of the professors had to come out, which means it turned into Snob Fest. So, yeah. Anyways, Juice ended up dying. It's okay. All good things as it goes. So, these poetry pieces all came mostly from in that time period of Juice, not necessarily when I was hosting. Some came from before, and all of them came from within that time period, though. So here we go. Um, I'm going to do this one by one as well, just to make my life easier for editing. Alright, so first up, it opens up with Diary of the Madman. Well, there is a lot of personal stuff in this particular poem. A lot of particular lines, they were great. I used them to build up this character when I was doing poetry. I used to host a poetry night, Juice Open Mic. It was at a bar called Fog. We got together once a month, and we all got up on stage and we performed. A lot of the stuff that you're going to hear in here came from there. It originated from those nights, or because I was writing a lot of stuff to go out there and perform. And as the host, I always felt like I had to have something different. Well, most of the people that went out there, they had their own. Everybody had their own little shtick kind of thing. Alice Cooper is my biggest driving force. I'm really much into the hard rock, heavy metal. So the lyrics of Alice Cooper, the lyrics of the Doors, even Led Zeppelin to a small degree. A lot of that stuff. A lot of drugs, sex, rock and roll, death, sex, and money. Not so much with the money with me. The other thing that inspired some of the poetry I'm going to get into is going to be my photography, but I'll get to that when I get to that. Diary of the Madman was supposed to be like an introduction piece, introducing people to the madness I'm about to bring them onto the performance stage, to introduce them to how crazy things are going to get. So, yeah, here we go. Diary of the Madman.
I'm twisted, mentally fucked and fisted. My brain's been blistered. I've been pissed off, shit on, never had anything go totally wrong. But the worst thing to be is another casualty. I know the feeling of emotional rape, to be fueled by hate, to understand too little, too late, and what it means to wait. I've been forgotten and frozen, was the last kid chosen, had my childhood stolen, and some days I know I'm still falling. You know that day, the one when they took me away for the hospital stay, was because of how I play. Just like to have fun, no quick kill, that's no real skill. It's like fixing my issues with a pill, it just takes the edge off the thrill. I like my knife sharp and pointed, with my blood it was anointed. I was a cutter along with my brother from the other mother fucker. And I say, daddy dear, have no fear, your son isn't queer. He just got fucked in the head, is better off dead or strapped to a bed. Just take a needle and jam it into my arm, this time maybe the charm. No need to raise alarm, hopefully I won't cause any more harm. I'm slowly going crazy, crazy, and so am I. I never wanted to be that guy, the one that always looks high, looks like someone needs to die, looks like he doesn't know how to cry. I developed a nasty tick, chewed my nails to the quick, blamed it on a giant prick, then blamed it on another dick, and then the doctor said I was sick. Well, it's time to go.
Alright, so 2 minutes and 2 seconds of pure psychological brutality. I was never a cutter. Never, ever, ever a cutter. I was a chronic nail biter, and my nail biting was, the equivalent of being a cutter almost, because I did. I went down to the quick. I would tear it out. It's hard to see here, but these are my nails after I finally quit biting my nails after 30 years of doing it. They're permanently damaged, permanently screwed up. So there's certain parts in there that are honestly true, especially the open part, that very opening where I'm talking about, being the last kid chosen, I know what it's like to be frozen, blah, 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 blah. That part was all real. The rest of it, where it's a complete psychobabble diatribe, no, that was meant to be a psychobabble diatribe, really, The only other line in there that is 100% personalized in a way, and it's just me putting a clever little joke in there, is when at first I blamed it on some prick and then it turned out to be another dick, or I can't remember the exact words, my own stuff, and I can't remember the exact words except for when I'm listening to it or reading it. But that specific line, my first stepdad, or the first guy I called the stepdad, his name was Richard, and he did actually go by Dick, so I legitimately had a stepdad who was a dick. Next track up is Toilet Paper Roll. Clever name, as you can see this, how it's spelt out. Don't want to ruin anything before you actually hear it. The basic concept out of this, going by the title, just to give you, person runs out of toilet paper and they have to go for a walk to go get some. And this is everything that they witness and see along the way. I also want to talk about the music. The music on this is original. All the music on all of this is all original. I wrote 100% all of it. I know I've mentioned this already. I did not play any of it. No human being played any of it. It was all written using a program on my computer, and then the computer's playing it. It is written, though, note by note. That's me putting it in there and composing the entire thing. There's a few synth pads, stuff like that in there. You just kind of trigger those off. But otherwise, 100% all the way through. It's all me, folks. So here we go. Toilet Paper Roll. hold on. Gonna stop that and mention one more thing here before we get going. You're about to see me smoking some marijuana while I am listening to this. I live in Canada. In Canada, marijuana is 100% legal. That's right, folks. We got legal weed here all across the country, from one end to the other. Legal marijuana. So legal, we can grow it on our own properties, up to 4 plants as of currently. Unless you get special permits, that's a whole different story. So I'm going to smoke my marijuana, and you're going to listen to the toilet paper stuff.
Transcending the core, a walk to the store. Cool air, comfortable night. Hooligan hijinks and their skunkweed stinks. Ah, to be young and free. The street is running a cold sweat. Wanna be thugs in her veins, and she can't break the shakes. Broken glass, smoke stains, oil patches running rainbows in the rain. Technicolor, toxic beauty. Absent-minded, constant divided. They had to try it or no one would buy it. They would, wouldn't, could, couldn't, should, shouldn't. That's it, you might think. However, it is what it is, but it pales. It's another old house, rusted windows, cracked hinges, empty wishes. Now the home is alone. The man on the road, a mind freak, thinks he knows. Sings a song, whistles a tune, tells a story he'll question soon. And will anyone care? Another face. Reflections in a window, hollow-eyed zombies, lobotomized lab rats, looking for leftover scraps, and the beggars are slowly moving back. It's a distract, taking notice away from a bumping act. Should have watched his back. Leather-studded horror, last trick walk, pimps insist contestants are always present. Take the cash and leave now, or go for what's in the box. And if the safety snaps, surprise, you're dead. You need more than a licorice whip to walk the strip when the moon is full and the ghosts still roam. And you can tell in their eyes, no one is any longer at home. The first rays of light, buildings block the sight, shadowing the cold dawn. The morning spoils, the rot slinks on, stinks on. Ink slingers are gone, and the barflies mercifully worship sleep. The red is wiped clean for the green, which must stay black, because the red in fact means painters aren't coming back. And the day doesn't mind. Humma, mumma, jumble lumble, drifting, sifting through the speakers. And little girls prostituting, suckers in their mouths, fingers twirling hair, and the mascara merchants think this is okay. Why pick up a book when you can look so flashy? White trashy, disaster zone. Golden arches, kings and queens, redheads, bells, raw fish, ethnic, eccentric, confusing selections, coffee or tea, pad thai, free of bok choy, pasha. The domicilially challenged is getting pissed on but enjoying the show. A golden shower in the red glowing morning. The septic skeptic visiting the waking psychic for paranormal probing 4 times a week. Fortnight to 12th night. Does that seem right? A door opens to the store. Walking in is the place to begin. But there's a bump, a pass and stash, and the register's broke. There's no use for paper. It's purely plastic. And all of this feels classic. Again.
Alright, so I really have this thing, especially at that time period, where I like to describe stuff without using normal words. I'll go a little bit off. You know, like when I'm going on that line of redheads, bells, raw fish, ethnic eccentric, coffee tea, bok choy, or pad thai free of bok choy. I'm talking about going past Taco Bell, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's. There was, downtown Windsor. There was a great sushi place, some great sushi places you could go past. So this is what I'm talking about, and the whole way through, and I'm talking about the green and the red and the black and stuff like that. That's all money, and the very end where I say paper or plastic. It's all paper, no plastic, stuff like that. Paper is cash, plastic is cards. I'm not talking about the bags. The end is basically saying, their cash register is busted, so I have to pay them using a credit card. That kind of idea, because they just got robbed. That was the idea there, and this was just me being clever. Realistically, I hate when people like to do those big giant breakdowns of what each individual word or what all the symbolism and blah 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 blah. This poem is one of the biggest, most symbolic kind of poems where everything is symbolism for something in here, and I could do this great in-depth breakdown of this. And if you ever, honestly, if you'd love to hear a giant breakdown of this, leave a comment. Let me know in the comments, okay? I will do it if someone wants to hear. If someone wants an actual giant breakdown of bit by bit by bit of this particular poem, I'll do a full breakdown of bit by bit by bit of exactly where I was going with this poem. I love this poem. I love this piece in general. I always have. I always thought it was one of my more creative pieces that I wrote. Because it didn't go with any of my normal stuff. Like, it has a little bit of my darkerness to it because I am talking about a few things that are but normal stuff for downtown. The kids prostituting themselves, just the robbery of the convenience store, basic stuff like that, right? Little bit darker, but compared to how I usually go, it's not that horrible. Anyways, let's move on to the next one. The next track up is Like You and Him. This is the only track where I'm really kind of partially on the fence with it. I love the music in this one. To me, the music's the best part of this one. But the words I use and the descriptive back and forth, my ex had dubbed it the maniacal descriptive because the way I would use really weird analogies to try and get points across and stuff like that. I tried to when I wrote this at the time, it was never intended as a good bad thing. It was actually very much intended as a Paula Abdul opposites attract kind of thing. That's where I was kind of going with this. I hate to say it, but that was totally the inspiration. And in that sense, it's to me, it's kind of got that juvenile kind of feel. It was also one of the very first poems I ever wrote specifically for going to Juice. When I first was making my appearances there, and I actually wrote it on the bus on the way there. I had a 45-minute bus ride, and I had no new material, and I wanted something a little new to do, so I wrote that on the way there, and I ended up doing it. And I do like it. It's just compared to everything else on here, it's the one that kind of throws me off the most, or I kind of get into the least. But here we go. Like You and Him. It could be a male or female. This could be unisex. It doesn't have to be. It could go either way. Like it doesn't even have to be. I never really established a female. Whatever.
Prickly like a porcupine in heat. You get the point. He wants a treat. Silent like a panther chasing a prowler. You like a quiet. He's a howler. Powerful like a 80s glam band. You get the lights. He plays on command. Colorful like a 70s movie pimp. You're always flashy. He tends to be limp. Unread like a first edition book. You're a classic. He's begging for a look. Pointless like a CD gathering dust. You want to be heard? He's a bust. Determined as a dreamy pop star. You want the limo? He gets the car. Much like a fan on a hot summer day. You can swing to either side. He goes one way. Graceful like a dolphin in the sea. You attract attention. He just wants to be tasty like a fresh lobster tail. You always please. He
I love that sound. I use it a lot. I really do. It's a really cool pad sound that on here. So in the program I use, fantastic. If you really listen to the words in there, when it's supposed to be something horrible, like the one specific line that I think of in there is when I'm talking about the pimp. I always, when I was doing it, I was always trying to strengthen the female side and weaken out the male side at the time. I still like the piece for that reason. I really like, and like I said, it goes either way because it never really indicate that it's a female on the one end and a male on the other. I just always say you and him. So it could go either way. I just, I always like the pushing up the one and then the dropping the other one down a little bit, always kind of making the other person sound like they're just, you take this obscure thing, like, right at the beginning, like a porcupine in heat. You always get the point, and he always, has the need or whatever the hell it was, weird comparisons. It was just, my ex used to call me the master of the maniacal descriptive because I would just weirdly describe stuff, but it would help drive the point home. Mother's Milk is the next track up. Mother's Milk is based off of a photo set I put together for my former mother-in-law for Christmas one year. Really, really loved this photo set and the imagery I could see within this photo set and looking at it. And I later heard that, she never even hung it, which is, a little heartbreaking. But, whatever, right? That's what happens when you give someone art. That being said, though, this photography here, Mother's Milk, I am going to make these a reproduced image available to Patreons. That's right. I am going to do it so people can go out and recreate these amazing images and listen to this awesome piece and look at it. And then here's the thing. I want to play this, and when I play this for everybody, all of these you're going to see reactions on. Mother's Milk, you're going to see some reaction on it. I want to have that. But I also I'm hoping you're going to get to see the images and what I'm talking about as we go through here. Some of this you're not going to be able to see the way I want you to see it. But that is okay. That is okay. We'll work out something on Patreon for that too, right? Okay, see what I'm saying here? We'll work it out. So... but Mother's Milk, this is this great thing where, you think it's this giant drug representation or whatnot, the way I go on about it. Definitely some people would definitely think there's like some heroin, opium kind of stuff going on here. It has nothing to do with it. It's purely the images I can see in my abstract photography called Ice Noir. So, yep, here's that giant pitch. I've done it. And remember, Patreon. Yeah, here we go. Mother's Milk. And this one is, I should also mention, this is a longer track. I think it's not horrible, but it does feel a little long just because of you'll enjoy the video.
Mother's Milk, it's not for every ilk, but it slides down like fresh silk. It gets inside you, then rides you, psychologically divides you, and never minds you. Do you see the crow? I do so, but I have got to know. Do you see the squawk, the up-facing talk, the closed-off, preachy, constant mock, calling like the cock of the walk? Trapped inside the bottle, a contained throttle, for a content subconscious coddle. The base is milk white and the pink has bright blues so thick and tight, separated right with green goofy gopher hiding light. Suck on that and you'll see the cat, but that's a false fact. For the crow caws alone in a full home filled to the bone, emptied with a moan, it only gets one roam, and then it's on to another. The Mexican El Mouse is proudly in the house, ready for a douse, surrounded in pink mist, happy you're pissed. Or it might be missed when kissed, and that is not an ideal tryst. The suspended bubbles sweep away troubles, and then the depth of it doubles. There's an X-ray skull from an alien call, hidden in the right hull, which acts as a lull to those that are dull. To the left side of the El Mouse ride, a sack boy is derived. Tight lip turned down and a thin frown from hanging around with a pink crown at the top of the cylindrical mound. And there's time for just one more. The extraterrestrial in a sombrero, a broken arrow with a body that's narrow, slanted eyes in a Mexican disguise with a hat that flies through the skies because it's bigger inside. He has an aardvark snout so he won't shout while viewing his pride-filled route. Sunrise at the right, ending blue purple night, obscuring his might. The morning's bright, but he's not a light. Scampering away, no longer wanting to stay, these people won't play. They aren't nice unless you soothe the vice with some device or roll of the dice, because the blue lion watches the mice. Three's the limit here, or it gets queer, and people start to fear. It's all in frame, and I am to blame, and it's a shame that it came. But this isn't for the totally sane.
I realized that was an abrupt ending. It was done on purpose. Once again, I did write all this stuff and produce it all a certain way, so anything that ends on abruptly, it ends abruptly on for a reason. I don't know what the reason is now, but it sounds good to me. Like I said, it was a series of 3 pictures, and each approximate 45 to 50 seconds is me describing one of the images and everything that I could see in the image when I was looking at it. Once again, hopefully you saw it in the video. If not, that's cool. But that's Mother's Milk. I realize that one feels kind of long when you hear it. It is a bit long-ish. But what are you going to do, right? Okay. Let's get on to it. Alright. Warning on the next track here. This next one is violent. Graphically violent. Sort of. Oh, man. Okay. This one is all sex and death. All 100% sex, death. A lot of crazy. Whoo, yeah. This was totally inspired by Alice Cooper type lyrics. Roses on White Lace would be the whole Raise Your Fist and Yell album in general would have had a lot of inspiration on this particular piece. Raise Your Fist and Yell is one of my favorite Alice Cooper albums. I absolutely love it. But anyways, so yeah, here we go. Passion Play. 3 minutes, 5 seconds. And I actually give this one a build up for music.
Dripping wet. Our engagement has left me covered in sweat. We met early in the night at some club, liberally sipping drinks as our libido swelled. She tickling a certain fancy of mine, me lay my best play on the line. 10 minutes later we were sliding into a cab, my hand sliding up her piggy short skirt, her tongue sliding up against mine, our bodies slowly racing in time, intoxicated on bed and she giggles. I slide off her skirt and she wiggles. I slide my tongue tip, starting at her tiptoe, moving very slowly up the inside of her thigh. Her delicate aroma blowing my mind, and I know now that it's the time. I work my hands up her body, removing her skirt. It's effortless with her understanding help. I move my mouth to a soft white neck, and as I bite down, she gives a yell. There's no stopping, no easing up, sliding the blade from my front pocket. I notice the moonlight glimmer on the steel, and this is where I know how I really feel. I quickly pull back, kneeling straight up, the razor swinging to where my mouth had been, passing through flesh like it was water, her eyes shocked in an unexpected horror, and the crimson spray runs down the walls, my wild howling resounding through the halls. She had approached me earlier in the night, thinking that I had looked alright.
Seriously, man. Oh, piece is so dark and twisted and just, absolutely fantastic, man. I really, I gotta say, I'm not huge. You can ask most people. I usually don't like to toot my own horn too much. I'll take credit where credit's due. Don't get me wrong. There are certain things I definitely take credit for that I'm damn good at. And when I hear the build-up on there, and that's not the only one. What was it? I did the build-up on, what was it? Like You and Him had that build-up on it too, or you just kind of, it gets you going, and like really, like the music and the poetry accompaniment. When I did them at the time, when I always was kind of so-so about them. I didn't know entirely how I feel. You know how they say, you only know how you really feel about your stuff in retrospect, right? And some of them I loved when I first did them. Passion Play I loved from the first moment I completed it. I still love it that much more now. I really do. There's just something about that track, man. I just channeled some deep, dark nastiness. Okay, let's go. Next track. So this next one here has no musical accompaniment to it. I believe I had wrote and I did produce a version that had music once upon a time, but I don't think I was ever happy with it. And the reason why is this specific piece is called Evolution. And it was born out of a improv night, or basically everybody could write down an idea, throw it into a hat. Everybody who's competing in the contest wrote down an idea, threw it in the hat. We did 2 rounds, and you got, I think it was like a 30-second kind of prep time to wrap your head around and get yourself going. And you had to last for a minimum of 30 seconds for your time to qualify. This piece was 100% done that night, and I don't think this is the exact recording from that night, but this is as close as I could get to it. I wanted to try and capture it exactly the same. I absolutely loved doing this piece, and the way it just came out brilliantly. And it was really funny because for the contest, there was always one guy. His name was TJ. He was going by Raven at the time. That was his stage name there. And TJ, great buddy of mine, TJ could deliver anything. And TJ was there to go up that night and perform, and he did. And damn, man, the two of us were like neck and neck with this contest, with the 2 pieces we did, because the 2 of us just brought it that night. Brilliant. Okay, so here we go. This is Evolution.
I was born, not of my father's sperm, not of my mother's womb. I was born of muck, of slime, of proteins and amino acids coincidentally being forced together through gravitational pressures. And they created that first spark of life on this planet. And that spark of life moved on. Eventually it grew fins and gills, moved into water, and became a fish. But then that fish wasn't content. No, up there it saw sunshine, and it wanted to be in the sunshine. So that fish took everything it had, and it beached itself up onto the sand, and it couldn't breathe, so it went back into the water. But it kept beaching itself over and over and over again. And finally, it grew lungs, so it could breathe the air around us. And then it evolved into bipeds, and tripeds, and quadrupeds, and everything leading up to the moped. But it first became the monkey, and we all know about monkeys. You get enough of them together, and a lot of shit will come out of it. 1,000,000 monkeys on 1,000,000 typewriters over 1,000,000 years will give you Shakespeare, although the next evolution gave it to you first. You got the human, the artist, the creator, the poet, the painter, the candlestick maker, the guy that sits there and goes, you know, I can make that into a bong. Let me tell you what we've become, people. We've become a bunch of hungry, bloodthirsty, violence-hungry, tit-loving, pussy-loving, cock-loving ingrates that don't remember where the fuck we came from. We're primal, we're ooze, we're shit, we're the stuff at the bottom of the fucking food chain originally. Because that is where evolution has brought us. Sex sells, violence entertains, and he who has the money is allowed to send our loved ones to war for the wrong reasons. Evolution has brought us back to the bottom of the food chain, back to the beginning, and it has taught us all that we are nothing more than a bunch of slime that gravity has made into humans.
Okay, that definitely was not the original performance. However, that was a really good replication vocally of the original performance. Uh, Damn, I really do love that piece. Because the entire time, this is the brilliance of this piece to me. The entire time I'm sitting there performing this, I've got two different things going through my head. The very last episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, the series finale, when Q and Picard are standing over the pool of sludge. And they're talking about evolution of man and how it all started there when they miss it. So I've got this going through my head because I pulled this little slip out of the paper that says evolution. I got to do this piece on evolution in 30 seconds. So that's the first thing that's going through my head is this whole thing from the last episode of TNG. The other part that's going through my head, Marilyn Manson and Marilyn Manson lyrics for the most part, until I get to the Dennis Leary reference, because all of a sudden I'm just sitting there going on, and I go, you know what? I can make a bong out of that. And yeah, man, that piece is just freaking hilarious. All right, heads up. This next track runs long. This is the longest track on here. This is called Riding with the Lizard King. This was actually an exercise for me. I was taking songs from bands that their discography was complete. There was going to be no new releases unless there was some weird song released a million years down the line kind of thing. I had tried this out with quite a few bands. The only band that this exercise really worked with was The Doors, or the one that worked the best. The song titles worked best to the story, to create a story with it. Now, the rule when I designed this exercise for myself was I had to use every song title once, and once only, and it was one song title per line of this poem. Well, the Doors have quite a few songs, so you can imagine how long that would go. Especially when I went with, I believe, every Doors song, not just the Jim Morrison years. Because there was, I believe, one or two other albums released after Morrison. Also, the music in here is very Doors-esque. I'm trying to remember what song. I think it was Riders on the Storm that I was really kind of trying to emulate in the inspiration of the music on this one. So, but I wanted to have that total Jim Morrison-esque vibe going on this one with, telling the poetry and having the kind of music accompaniment. The music, I think, is a little bit pronounced compared to the words, but let me know what you think and we'll talk a little more afterwards. Here we go. Riding with the Lizard King.
It had been late into the blue Sunday when they started to move, the legendary Spanish caravan that was looking for a place to groove. Sometimes they went by crystal ships across the great clear sky, or they followed the horse latitudes if they didn't want to fly. They went by many names while journeying in their soft parade. A ship of fools was common in most places they had stayed. Most people didn't understand the peace frog in his way. It was hard to seem sane when the shaman blues was at play. He had spent many days in the soul kitchen deep in thought. He would take it as it comes as long as he found what he sought. He wanted nothing more than to find those lost strange days, the ones he lost at the end of the night while in a foggy haze. He had been out on a moonlight drive, deep in the desert of the mind, and there she stood, the queen of the highway with eyes so kind. It had been late into the Indian summer, but neither cared at all. They would develop a wintertime love that would be nothing small. Together they roamed in the Hyacinth house, smoking and drinking, not knowing the time of this 20th fox was quickly sinking. They often sang out the Alabama song while in the whiskey bar. However, there was no way life with this unhappy girl would go too far. Then one morning, he had been out waiting for the sun to light the day. But people are strange, and she left without a word, with nothing to say. He did love her madly and would not rest until he found her again. That wild child caused him so much deep heartbreaking pain. Then slowly people started joining his journey for his magnum idyll. Chances were 5 to 1 that she would even be alive still. But this journey would not end until the frog was back on Love Street, so they could be wishful, sinful in their own hidden private retreat. Until he could rest, he would sing his roadhouse blues to everyone. He referred to himself as an unknown soldier in a quest for real fun. He was the spy in a war to bring his lady back to the place of love. He had to do it so he could believe there was someone above. A million times he said to himself, little girl, you're lost, come back. My eyes have seen you and I need you to keep me on track. Then he cried to himself, I can't see your face any longer. My wild love, my need for you only grows stronger and stronger. That was when he was told not to touch the earth or what grows. He needed to go into the water. He was told, yes, the river knows. You need to break on through to the other side to find her now. It will not be an easy ride, but in the end you will know how. The water also told him, I looked at you and it made me sad. But summer's almost gone, and for this you should be glad. Tell all the people what you are trying to do out there. That you've been down so long, but that you still care. Then he was off again, running blue, searching for her. That was when the crawling king snake did start to stir. The man said, it sounds like cars hit by my window now. But we have not reached land ho, so I do not know how. Then the great snake slithered into his room and said, touch me. Then once again, your LA woman will be able to see. But I don't have long, because when the music's over, so am I. You make me real, but soon I will have to disappear and die. we could meet. Then he turned his head and she said, hello, I love you, to his face. I want you to be my backdoor man, light my fire and stay in this place. Please love me 2 times and then we can be nice and warm. With any luck, I'll never again have to see the riders on the storm.
Alright, so depending on where you sit on that one, I mean, I can see how some people definitely think it's a little campy. It does suffer from running a little long, but there were a lot of song titles I had to go in there. Like, there was literally 1 line for every song title. There was no extra lines in there, you know? Like, I didn't add extra stuff. I didn't play with extra stuff. 1 song title per line in the poem. So that was necessary. I mean, the little pauses in between the intro, the exit. I like the music. I like the evolution of the music. I really kind of like that shaker when I got the shaker going in there. Once again, it's all computer-generated music. It's not really me with the shaker, but, you know. Anyways, let's go on to the next one. Okay, this next one, this is just music. So I'm going to get this one going here first.
20 minutes ago, this man took a hit of acid. A hit of acid he bought from the devil. Now the acid is starting to kick in. And he is about to lose his mind.
Alright, so that's it. That was it. It wasn't even a poem, it was an intro. This whole track was recorded specifically to go with some video I had shot. I shot this video. I wanted to tell this really weird kind of visual story of a guy totally tripping out after picking up a hitchhiker. And the video footage actually ended up being used later on for the Howling Odyssey. I put it into the video from the Howling Odyssey, Lucifer the Devil. Forgot what it's called. It's a great video. And the video for Lucifer Work the Devil, it's not even all the video footage I shot. If I use this track, it wouldn't fit all the video footage I shot either. It was just, and the one I do in Lucifer Work the Devil, the way I represented it, it's not the same type of weird, trippy freak out that it was supposed to be for this. And if I didn't mention it, I call this the dry track, and that's why it's called the dry track, because from this drive. And once again, all the music is 100% computer, no actual band playing, it's just me programming and music and writing music. Because I can, when I've fully trained myself how to write music, I can write in different keys, I know how to do different time signatures, I know how to write music. The program I use is limited with the time signature I do. Pretty much everything I write in is 4/4. I try and kind of change up signatures to kind of sound 4/4-ish. There's only so much you can do. At this point in the original video, he had just picked up the hitchhiker and he's hallucinating the hitchhiker getting all rubby-dubby in the chair of the vehicle as they're driving along, and he's getting all, rubby-dubby. This is all in his fucking head kind of type thing. I should really see if I can find the video for it the way I originally shot it. It was really interesting. But once again, if you watch Lucifer Work the Devil, you can see the video footage and theoretically piece together where certain parts would have been. Yeah. So that was that. I wanted to include that in here because, like I said, it was from that entire time. And to me, even without me talking about it, I love the music on it. I think the music is really cool, and I love every little part of it, the nuances, all that. Very fun. Okay, let's go on. Now, let's go on to how I close out this album. If you are one of my regular viewers, you know when it comes to album reviews that the very last track on the album has to be the most important. If you're going to close out the album, you've got to close it out in a way you want to make them want more. This particular poetic piece used it to bring down the roof on so many different poetry nights after I stopped doing that, even because the pure gravitas I have to do vocally in this piece with the words I'm doing, it's just, I wish I had the music to back me up when I've done this live, but I don't have the music. And it's always the ladies that love this piece the most because of how I like to perform it and the words that I say and everything else. Yeah, this one's just pure ego, man. 100% aching ego. Here we go. Of course, not me. Yeah. Mom, turn it off now if you're watching this. You don't want to hear this at all. Just hit stop, hit fast forward. Not this part. Or grandma or anybody else.
It doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing, it's more about tension releasing and licking, lapping, sucking, rubbing black lips with some heavy tongue tip, pressure, and just rolling it all night long. I'm not looking for a warning in the morning when you want me to go for a barnstorming. Just give me vibe to come alive and I'll give you the time of your life. It don't matter if you're somebody else's wife. We can take turns going down, I'm always good for another round. If anybody asks, just say we slipped. The problem is vagina is a drug, and I love to trip. So when I'm out slipping in, we know, get it on again. I'm always ready and waiting, so let's get to the action and drop this on fiddling. Let's just start fucking now, and it doesn't matter how. We'll drain each other of it all, and tomorrow, baby, you don't have to call.
Ooh, that is the pure sex thing. I was not allowed to do that piece when the ex was with me back when we were a couple, when I was doing that. I was not allowed to perform. I performed the piece, I think, once or twice with her around, and I was told I was never, ever allowed to do it again because she just honestly thought everybody stared at her and I had just laid her entire sex life bare. And the reality is, it's a poetic piece. I really don't care how a woman takes care of their vagina for their pubic hair. I really don't. Some girls look really nice with it smooth. Some girls really shouldn't go smooth because it's gross. They could use the hair to hide a little bit. um, sometimes when I'm watching porn, sometimes I look for 70s porn. Debbie Does Dallas style classic 70s porn because I want to see some good old 70s style muff. You know? Go either way. I don't give a shit. Yeah. I don't care. And I love the line, landing strip, because that's what they used to call them. That's what strippers used to call them, was landing strips. So, uh, um, and honestly, it was funny because with my ex, the only other part in here that was half related to her is where I say the line, "I don't care if you're somebody else's wife." When her and I got together, she was not divorced from her first husband yet, and she did not get divorced for a while afterwards for various reasons. So that was really the only line that honestly directly pertained to her or even remotely related to her. It was inspired by her. The rest of it was just 100% I like pussy. So here we are. We're at the end of this journey. We're at the end of this journey for the third time now. And I hope you've enjoyed this journey as much as I have. I hope I've given you something to enjoy seriously, because as much as I laugh and joke and have a humorous side about my poetry, there's some really serious good stuff in there, man, and I just like to ham it up and cheese it up because, it makes it something interesting to watch, right? Um, I love this as an album. I think this is a great album, personally. I wish I had had a little more to put in there. I do know that I have recorded some other pieces in that time period, but I've yet to come across them. So, there is a possibility that there is an episode part 2 of this to come. And there is a possibility that when the day comes that the Patreon sponsorship is there and demands it, proper album copies, or CD copies at least, at the bare minimum, CD copies will get released. Anyways, you know what I like to say at this point, so I'm going to say it. Peace, love, take care, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Please click the link to go over to Patreon and join us over there and subscribe there. That way you get all this awesome stuff. Otherwise, I love you all, and thanks for watching. Take care.